We're going to now change gears. And this morning we started off, we said, we know that you're going to be very upbeat, very focused. So far, so good. I can report a clean slate. Nobody has to stand in the corner and live with their shame for not paying attention. So far, so good. We have got a couple of prizes to give out later and a couple of books there. And by chance, I'll run into that guy, Graham, what's his name, that coach? I don't know. I did literally run into him and had a chat to him. And so I have got his book signed by him, if you're pleased to know. So one of you is going to walk away with it today. I'll just decide why that is. I'll see how well you behave. All right, we're getting a bit behind. I'd like you now to welcome Kathy Millet. Kathy is from South Africa, and I stumbled across Kathy on the internet.
Funny that.
Fancy that. And of course, Kathy, I have worked a bit with Kathy. We're still working things through. But what I like about Kathy is she's really passionate about what she's doing. She knows her stuff. And I thought that you'd benefit from listening to her talk about not just Facebook, but other things around that. So you'll get some value out of this if you're in business. There's some real, I think, application of Facebook and other technology surrounding social media. And also if you're a parent. I think there's some things there that you may find beneficial. I know with my girls, for a start, we had to watch them, what they put up on the Facebook, because Facebook stays around for a long time, and you've got to be careful just what goes up there. So look, I'll pass you over to Kathy, and welcome, Kathy.
Thank you very much. Perhaps the first thing we need to do is I hope that you take away a few practical tips. As Peter kindly said, my name's Kathy and I've lived in New Zealand for 16 years, so consider myself well and truly a Kiwi. I've got 2 little Kiwi kids, but every now and again when the men are on the field, my allegiance does shift and I tend to focus on another team. On my entry slide, the first thing I wanted to draw your attention to is that little square item up the top. Are you all familiar with those little squares and what they can do in your life? Those little things are called QR codes, and I actually do a half-an-hour presentation just on those alone. And what that allows you to do is gain direct access into any element you would like somebody to be directed to. So if you have a smartphone, you go to your little provider and you download a QR reader called a quick response reader. With that in place, and I've got one on my phone, so we'll hope it's going to work up on the board. The scanning technology comes in, and if I point, oh, there, it's picked it up. If I point it at that, it's going to direct you to my website. So you can utilize that form of technology on any business cards. You can direct people, if you're on a farm and people don't know where to find you, send them a QR code reader. They can scan it into the phone, Google Maps, and they're there. So very easy to use technology. That's my little giveaway at the start. So what's this whole social media thing? Is it a fad? And there are a lot of people out there going, oh, this is the next craze and it's going to be gone by next week. Well, I don't think so. I think that it's a little bit more than dancing on the tables. I believe that there are no real magic solutions when it comes to social media. It's not going to be the silver bullet in your organization. It is something that's going to need consistency, it's going to need work, it's going to need input. But the results of utilizing social media in any business context for early uptakers of the technology are far going to outweigh the costs associated with it. I have clients who are generating a large percentage of their business off the internet. That doesn't discount the level of personal marketing that you need to do. Certainly you need to do that personal level of marketing when you're in business for yourself, but the internet works while you're asleep, and it's really nice to have that inquiry come through overnight when you've been sleeping and it's something that you can attend to for your business. I was quoted in the Law Talk magazine not so long ago, and in that particular one I really focused on you need to have nous when you're working online. Be careful what you put online, because once it's there, somebody's copied it, it's very difficult to get it off. And I also have a copy of an article that I've just had published in a magazine in Auckland, Verve magazine, and you're more than welcome to take away a copy from that. So I walk the talk, and I sort of do live by the sword and speak my mind, and you'll get an honest answer from me if you have any questions later on. I don't consider myself a social media guru. In fact, I hate that terminology, because anyone who pretends they're a guru has never got anything to learn. And every day I learn something new in this space. So I don't believe anyone out there can actually be a guru. We're all on this path together. Some of us are a little bit further ahead than others. So the current challenge that most organizations face, what are they? The first is, we don't know where to begin. Do we do Facebook? Do we do Twitter? Do we do LinkedIn? Do we do Pinterest? Do we do some of these Foursquare things? Do we do blogging? Do we do websites, search engine optimization, keywords, and the words just keep on coming. So where do we begin? The second is, it's overwhelming. If I haven't quite worked out how I'm going to use this device, or I haven't quite got the hang of that, how on earth am I going to be able to work in that environment? It's difficult to do because we're busy building our business. Who's not busy on a day-to-day basis? Who's got time for this? So the real reason you want to do is you want to get somebody who can help make it easy for you. You want to be able to put things in one place and have it replicate through the environment. And that's the journey that Peter and I are on, whereby, at some point in time when he starts putting stuff online, it replicates into all the other environments. And it's something that a lot of my clients find to be quite beneficial to them. It's difficult to find the right people to manage it. And again, in other presentations that I do, I talk about that right person. Don't go and walk down the street. Find somebody who you think looks like they might be able to do it, and let them actually brand yourself online. Can they write? Do they understand the implications of what they're writing? And the list goes on around the real person you have branding yourself in that Facebook environment. A 14-year-old teenager might not get the right message out there for your organization. Social media agencies are prohibitively expensive. Don't know if you saw my first slide. My focus is taking the fear out of social media. It's not scary. It's actually quite an exciting area to be in. But the next thing that I'm passionate about is making it affordable. Facebook's free, Twitter's free, YouTube's free. Why do these organizations throw smoke and mirrors at this environment? They make it look scary when it's not. My passion is delivering an infrastructure that organizations can manage for themselves, so that they take control of their destiny online, which is where every organization wants to be. So let's look at this online versus offline, and I have a few things that I'm going to run through quite quickly. If we're online, we've got friends. We chat with our mates. There are heaps of fun things to do. There are games, there are all sorts of things that we can find in that space. There are places Peter goes to meet girls. We can go shopping. People get harassed and bullied. We create a reputation for ourselves. We express ourselves. In the real world, we have friends. We chat with our mates. Fun things to do. We go shopping. We like that. People get harassed and bullied. We create a reputation for ourselves. We express ourselves. Anyone noticing a pattern? Millions of people see what we do in the online space. Only a handful of people see it in the real world. And that's the difference. We can do all the things that we do in our real life online, but there's a difference. People see it, or we can control it. So social media is not traditional marketing. It's not the way that we've lived in the past. It's not me standing on the top of the mountain going, come look at my product. This is my price. This is where I do it. This is what it's all about. It's not me sticking a sticker on the back of a bus and having that bus travel through the town. It's a lot more subtle. And I think that after people have gone through a global recession, which they have, they're no longer wanting to be bombarded by telemarketers at 6 o'clock in the evening. That's family time. So social media is a very subtle way of understanding who your potential client is. It's no longer price and product and place and promotion and all those things that we learned in Marketing 101. It's all around building relationships with the people. It's personal. It's publishing stuff online. It's presence, promote, proximity. If you're on Google and you're searching for something, the things that tend to come up are the things in your geographical area, not the things out of your geographical area. If we look at it another way, it's attention, attraction, affinity, audience, and action. So those are very different to the traditional forms of marketing that we potentially are used to. So social media, what is it? If we go into the big wide world of Wikipedia, this is what they tell us it is. It defines the activities that integrate technology, social interaction, and the sharing of words, images, and video and audio. Who thought social media was just Facebook? Twitter. It's a lot more than that, and I'll cover in a later slide the different types of elements of social media and how a business, as they embark on an online branding campaign, should really consider many of those aspects of social media within the business. So in other words, social media is a conversation that takes place online. It's all about people going, I'm not sure. Do you really like it? Do you have a pink one? Do you have a black one? Do you have something else? I don't think I agree with that. There's an image of somebody. You might discuss that image in an online space. It's a corporation sharing some news about a community involvement that they're in. Maybe they're doing a sausage sizzle for Rotary, and you want to share that. That's how people start learning about your business and your organization, which is a very different form of marketing to Marketing 101 that we probably had in the past. So it's a conversation that more people are joining every day. And by the uptake of new social media tools into the area, I'm flabbergasted. And if you had to ask me today what social media tools I see being around in 10 years' time, I can't give you that answer. I have some suspicions as to which ones will still be there, and I have a suspicion that Facebook will still be there. And the only reason I have that suspicion is that so many of the other social media elements utilize Facebook logins and passwords as a mechanism. So I hedged my bet, and I now have Facebook as a number plate on my car. So just in case anyone didn't think I was serious about social media, I thought I'd brand myself. The new way, whether you participated in it or not, other people will. Social media is a place, and this comes back to our kids, where we can buddy up with friends, we can create groups, and we can support causes. It's a place to find out what's happening on the weekend, searches for old kindy friends, to see the aunt's new baby. We are now connecting with people around us in a way that we've never connected with in the past. An astonishment that I couldn't come to terms with was Camper Day in America, which is an institution for kids to go to. Apparently they've banned technology in those camps, and the down numbers or downward scale of numbers has been astronomical. Children in today's world feel like their hands have been cut off if they don't actually have this device with them. And that's the concern that each of us as parents have to take into it. I believe that social media is arguably the biggest shift that we are seeing since the Industrial Revolution. It's phenomenal in terms of what is happening out there. So the guidelines, and again I come back to the children, and I'm not an expert in kids. The only thing that I can talk about is my own family. I have an 11-year-old, and some of the things that we talk about and I talk about I can relate to as a mum. I have put out some pamphlets at the back, and you're more than welcome to take one of those. It's an organisation called Parenting Inc. They do a lot of really valuable courses, perhaps yes in Auckland, but they've assured me they do come into the Christchurch area. So there's at least a contact detail if anyone wants to explore a little bit more. The other thing that they've done, and I've quoted a few passages out of this, it's a book that they've put together. It's $13, 2 cups of coffee. Well, Auckland coffee, 2 cups of coffee. And it's all about connected. You've upgraded to technology, now upgrade the user. a well worth read for any parent trying to manage their children in an online space. So I do have a copy with me. If anyone would like to take a look, give me a shout. Let's take this into how we operate online, both as adults and as children. The first thing is appropriate. When we put something in a space, is it appropriate? We've all been at the receiving end of an email that has been shoved off before the reader's actually considered what they're saying. Exactly the same in an online space. Judgment. Once you've sent something, it's actually out of your hand. You can't bring it back again. So it's gone. Consider what you're sending out. Respect and manners. Just because we're hiding behind a computer, don't lose respect and manners for the potential audience out there. I always say avoid the big ones, the religion, politics. Don't go close to those, particularly if you're a business. Keep very unilateral in terms of what you're commenting on. Assertive. There will be situations where you want your viewpoint heard. Be assertive. Don't be rude. There's a difference. As South Africans, we can probably be called rude on a regular basis, but we won't go there. Privacy. What you post can always be found, even if you push the delete button. So remember that once you've put it there, it's there. Think about your digital footprint. Have any of you Googled your own name? Consider what you've put out there in the arena. If you've got children coming through varsity, are all their varsity pictures exposed to the world? It's great if they've put them on Facebook. That's great, but have they set the settings correctly so that potential employers can see it? Be aware of what your digital footprint is for the world. The myth, I can lie. But this little device that I carry around with me has got records and I can be tracked. So don't believe that you can actually pretend to be who you're not. Yes, we can sometimes try and hide behind that, but every computer has a digital identifier, so you can be found. None of those should be rocket science. That's all how we probably should be living our lives. Manners, respect, guidelines, nothing's changed. We're just doing it in a different space, and if we go back into the previous slide, we're doing it in a space where a lot of other people can see what we're talking about. There are creeps out there. There are scams, there's spams, there are hoaxes, and there's identity theft. So make sure that when you do put yourself in that space that you've tied down the security settings so that you're not exposed to that. The one thing that I'll talk about in a later slide is trademarking your brand online. It doesn't need to cost a fortune, but it is something to consider. Online confidence versus recklessness. The anonymity, get the word right, of the mask extending to things that you wouldn't do. That's got positive connotations, but it also has negative connotations. It can take people out their natural space and give them the self-confidence. If you've got a daughter who likes line dancing, and line dancing is perhaps not the coolest thing to be doing within the school environment, they might find communities who like line dancing. And in doing that, that builds their self-esteem. So that's not a bad thing if they can find communities that they can build their self-esteem in. However, there are sinister communities out there. And as parents, it's just keeping an eye on that. Now, I've quoted this exactly out the book, and I'm going to read it to you because I think it's actually quite a powerful statement. Information communication technology won't make you good or bad, but you can make ICT good or bad. When you communicate, shop, connect, blog, network, browse, and consume, the technology is just reflecting the inner you. It's your character. Modern technology is an amplifier. If you have, everything that is good in you and about you can be broadcast to the world. If you have a talent, skill, a great heart, or a great idea, then ICT will take those things to the planet. The flip side is it is just as good at revealing every flaw, weakness, and dark shadow of your character. And I think that's quite a powerful statement. And if we keep that in mind as we head into online media, we'll be okay. The question was, where's the quote from, and it came out of this book, so I'm not going to take any credit for it. What is a guide for families? Establish control. TVs, phones, computers, games are a privilege, not a right. Privilege comes from trust, and trust comes from transparency. Hold as a parent the right to retain reviews of logs, online history, and phone records. It's your right. You're probably paying for these devices, so hold the right to check it if you need to check it.
In our family, the kids bought their own cell phones. They pay to feed them. End of story.
You pay for the Wi-Fi. There we go. So at some level, sorry, the question was, no, they don't. The children actually own them. At some level, you're the parent and you're sponsoring it. If they paid for the Wi-Fi, you paid for the property. Just go above them. There's always a way that you can take it away and take trust back.
Our kids haven't worked out the Wi-Fi yet. On the cell phone.
Ground rules, part of a balanced life. This doesn't dictate their life. I won't allow it to dictate my children's life. And it's really a tough task as a parent. We have 2 iPads in the household. My children run in from school and they head for those, and it's a mechanism of me pulling them back and going, no, there are other elements to your life. Understand code. Children talk in strange language. LOL, lots of laughs, all sorts of things. But the key to you, and put this one in your little notes, POS. I didn't know about it until I attended a seminar and heard about this POS. My 11-year-old, who's really a good kid, was on a FaceTime call to a friend, and he went, POS. I said to him, Michael, what's that? And he gave me an acronym that I knew it wasn't. I said, don't speak rubbish. That's parent over shoulder. I'm here watching you. Well, his little jaw dropped. And probably that's going to lead me to some other ones later on, is that as parents, if the only thing that I give you today is take away technology, open up your own Facebook account, open up a LinkedIn account, open up a Twitter account, understand the world. If you understand that world just a little bit, you'll be able to control your children in it. Ground rules, part of the balanced lifestyle, no media after 8 p.m. I don't allow any technical devices to go into the bedrooms because I want to see where those devices are. With an iPod I gave my child over Christmas, he now has a direct line into another child's home, and they can FaceTime at lib. So no devices in the bedroom, and maybe you'll go away and report me to SIFs. But I try and control that access to that environment. Children should live in our world and not the world created by cyber gods and sitcoms, i.e. a world of pretty people that have friends and success. That's not reality. And that's what our children are exposed to on a daily basis in front of the media that we put them in. So make sure our children are aware that the world that they're looking at, the iCarlys of this world and all the other things that we see, that's not reality, and our children need to know that. What are the hot tips for cyber safety? Put your computer in a public area in the house. Use filtering software on your internet so that you control where your children go. Limit the sites the children are allowed to go to. Become social media savvy yourself. Retain control over things such as iTunes accounts, email accounts, and electronic devices. Anything my children want to download comes through my iTunes account. I control that account because I want to see what games they're playing, and I want to know what they're doing in that space. I want to see what they're purchasing. So control that environment until you have built up the trust to let that one go, and obviously as your children get to an older space. Adhere to Facebook guidelines. No matter what your child tells you, under the age of 13, they're not allowed to be there. That is one of the rules within the Facebook environment. So that's the rule, and that's where you should be sticking at. And ensure, as I've said already, that the privacy settings on the social media pages are up to date and ready to go. So can you avoid social media? By now you're probably going, oh shit, but I wish I could. Let's look at the numbers. I'm not going to read those numbers for you, but that was at the end of last year as to where the uptake was in the number of users out there. And if we put it in perspective, it took radio 38 years and TV 13 years to reach 50 million users. It took Facebook less than 12 months. Facebook has surpassed 900 million users. And within those areas, there's 1.3 billion users. Isn't that a nice little market to get your hands into? The elements of social media, they all have a different focus. We have blogging platforms, such as WordPress and Blogger, networking platforms where we interact with people, bookmarking platforms where we make notes and we share bookmarks. The Herald, you see something and you send it out. We have publishing platforms like YouTube, and we have collaborative platforms, and all of them have a different purpose. Facebook is for engaging. Twitter is for broadcasting. I call that legal spam. LinkedIn is business networking, and YouTube is very visual. Nothing speaks louder as a testimonial than something up on YouTube. If you're a financial advisor and you have a client that's really happy with the services, them talking about your services speaks far more than a written testimonial. So what does social media do for you? If we look at the traditional would have been you got the leads, the sales, you converted it, and that's how you improved your bottom line. About 10, 15 years ago, along came the websites, and that became a new filtering mechanism. We've now added the level above it, which is the elements of social media. And it's in that environment that we're actually starting to engage with that audience, and we're converting them from a cold market into a warm market. What happens is that Peter is out and about and he says, oh, I met this social media woman and her name's Kathy, and he mentions that to you. Straight away, you don't know me from a bar of salt. But straight away, he becomes a warm referral and you become a warm referral to me. And it's only by virtue of the fact that we've met in this social environment. So you have a great opportunity of increasing your audience. Why do you need social media and how can it help? Well, it develops lifelong warm referrals, as I've said already. It allows you to take care of your customers at a much more deeper and emotional level. And Google embraces search. So if we look at this, Google can only get to a certain level in Facebook, and that's a whole nother area for discussion, but at least it's being found in that area. Before you jump in, let's consider some things before you go. Keywords, have you got those sussed? So many times I go into organizations and I ask them what their keywords are and they don't know. You need to have powerful keywords. Trademarking, protect your brand online. The last 2 weeks I've had 2 people approach me who've had identity theft in terms of their brand. Somebody's taken their logo, done whatever they need and spun off a Facebook page. How can you claw that back? Trademarking is the way to do it. Whatever you do in an online space, consider the process. Design, invite, engage, convert. That's the standard process, no matter what environment that you're in. Your company blog, the secret social media ingredient. It's search engine friendly, and that's what makes it such a powerful tool in anyone's life. Blogs, what do they look like? They can pretty much look like any website out there. And those are some of them that I've created for various clients. Legal firms, podiatrists, fashion bloggers, accounting services, any industry can use a blog. Why do people share? We look at those pictures, they incite emotion. We share in an online space because we want to feel like we have social bonds with other people. If we're sharing the picture of Madeleine McCann, we're probably sharing it with an empathy for the parents involved with her that have to live with a little girl that's disappeared. Fulfills a human desire to connect. The one picture in the middle is Donald Trump's son who went off to an African game farm and killed a cat. And that picture went across the world with spoilt brat, somebody should shoot him, and there was a lot of emotional outcry about that picture. That was probably an unintentional place into an online space. Most likely to be shared, positive, anger-inducing or sad. And we share because it bolsters our own self-esteem. And some of my humour comes through in the bottom image with a guy being held up, probably the South African context again, and saying, just wait, before you actually shoot me, I need to put this on Facebook. Why do we want to be connected and consider the impact of this on the children? We are social creatures. We want to connect. We want to fit in with the culture. We don't want to be lonely, and we certainly don't want to miss out. And at the end of the day, it's all about liking. We look at searches. The greatest time of search traffic in New Zealand, guess when? Does anyone have an idea? Sorry? Work hours? No, it's actually an evening while people are watching television. That's how they surf it. No longer in front of a computer, but we can see that Facebook, that's the Facebook curve coming through. And that's where they're spending their time online. One thing for sure about social media, if you've been hesitant to do anything, you're turning away business growth. And I see that on a daily basis. Back in 1994, who was around then? The question that we were facing around the boardroom tables, around a kitchen table if it was a mum and pop business, is should we have a website? Who believes a company can exist today if we don't have a website? 2012, the same question is being asked around those tables. Should we do social media? And I think the past dictates the answer to the future. So Kathy's prediction is that this year we'll see the phenomenon of social media complete the transition from technical novelty to human and business necessity. And before Steve Jobs died, and he was the founder of Apple, he said, don't just try and get into social media. Get into it seriously, get into it quickly, and get into it with full and complete commitment. And I think he knew what he was talking about. Now this might pose a little bit of a problem, and I might need to escape out of there. I have a little video to show you about social media, so it's only about 2 minutes long.
Baba yetu yetu liye mbinguni yetu yetu amina. Baba yetu yetu liye jina lako litukuzwe. Baba yetu yetu liye mbinguni yetu yetu amina. Baba yetu yetu liye jina lako litukuzwe. Tupe leo chakula chetu tunachohitaji, utusamehe makosa yetu. Na yule muovu we milele. Baba yetu yetu liye mbinguni yetu yetu amina. Baba yetu yetu liye jina lako litukuzwe. Baba yetu yetu liye mbinguni yetu yetu amina.
So I don't know if anyone has any questions for me. Just to give you an example of the sorts of companies I work with, and it's just yay long. So I've worked with law firms, worked with chiropractors, I've worked with doctors, I've worked with Botox specialists. I've worked with Dionysus, who is a charitable music theatre production company, podiatrists, gyms, networking groups, training organisations, commercial leasing organisations, events coordinators. Bridget Black, which is the logo down at the bottom, was an interesting one. I've never met them. They're in London, and we did all of the work that we did over Skype. Property managers, real estate agents, and some paper mills. So, you know, the world's your oyster in terms of social media and its applications. Any questions?
In 1989, there was a big solar flare, not as big as the Carrington one, and it knocked out a power grid in Canada. And it also, planes flying around the world were without radio contact.
Has everyone heard the question around, are we becoming too reliant on this form of technology? And to answer that, I don't believe that this technology should take away our human interaction. If we've got a business, we should still be belonging to network groups. We should still be communicating and doing the old-fashioned handshake and face-to-face communication. That's probably the one side of it. This is a supplementary aid to that. In terms of the annihilation and becoming too dependent on it from that perspective, it's progress. This is the way things are happening. You know, it's a bit like me saying, if I look back in the past, that the sewing machine was a bad development and we've become too dependent on that, or the motor vehicle. It's just the way that the world is going, and that's no disrespect to your question, but reality is. And yes, you know, we are dependent on it, but it is also a great tool, and it's a facilitator. And you know, I've had numerous conversations. I've had a mum in high care hospital over the last period, and I've been able to communicate with family via Skype, and it hasn't cost me a cent, whereas probably 10 years ago it would have cost me a fortune to have that level of communication. So it is an enabler. But I take your point.
Are we going to be able to get this information that you've given us today on our internet?
On the internet?
Yeah.
All of it's up there, so yes.
On what your... Have we got a business card of yours that we
The
can go
business
into?
cards are over there, yes.
Lovely, thank you.
But I'm also happy, if you want to give me a call, more than happy to talk through some of those slides at a more detailed level.
Some people like myself who just the sheer time involved, I just find all of the social medias are just like a massive time vacuum for me. And when I try and engage in them, it's just like, oh my goodness, I just lost an hour of my time and I haven't achieved anything. So do you have advice for people that's their stumbling block?
It really would depend on what you're doing. Are you trying to be in there for a professional reason, or are you there for a personal reason?
Just trying to understand it, like you say, to be savvy, because my children are engaging in that.
Okay. From that perspective, I would recommend that you're doing the right thing, but limit the time, because it can be a time absorber. If you need to speed that up, there are a lot of courses out there. I have clients that get me to sit next to them, and we do this step by step process. So there's that element to it as well. From a company perspective, it shouldn't need to take that long. I recommend to my clients, if we get one blog post up a week, perhaps that takes an hour for them to create. Once that's out, we put tools in place. They can set up their whole program of social media for the next month, and it's probably not taken them more than 5 hours to do. And then there's the interaction or engagement with clients. So out of a month, we're probably looking at 8 hours at max if we speed it up and we coordinate it properly. But getting up to speed is something, and it also depends on your uptake. One of the businesses, and I won't point to who it was, I went on board about 2 weeks ago, and the gentleman said to me, I don't want a LinkedIn page. I don't want to be in that forum. You just get my company out there. I don't want to be there. And I walked him through the process, and we created a LinkedIn profile for him. He now has 500 plus acquaintances in that profile, and he's done that in 2 weeks. It's me going, we need to slow this down, because we need to let it bed and just sit before we enhance it to the next level. Okay, what's the point of having a blog if we've got Facebook? A very good question. If you remember the one slide where I showed you that search engines only really show that you've got a Facebook page and a very little description about us. So any valuable information that we're putting into Facebook, yes, it gives credibility back to your website in terms of link building, so you're getting the link building back. But what you're not getting through Facebook is search engine traffic. When you combine a blog with Facebook and you're actually placing that content in a blogging environment or in a website environment and then taking it from there via link into the Facebook environment, double dibs, you're getting your search engine traction. I'll give you an example. Can I, Peter? One example. I've got a client and I'm going to make you all do something because that's the way I am. So put your hand out, because I've listened to her do it a number of times. And you lift your hand up and down a few times, just lift it up. Oh, this is good, okay? So now take your hand and put your other hand on top of that. Okay. Her business is called Concept 1010. And lift your hand with some pressure on it to the count of 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Can you feel the difference? And you feel that the muscles are starting to engage. That's what her business is about. It's about getting fit in 20 minutes once a week, which sounds phenomenal, but it's worked, and it's worked for me. So in doing that, she worked out and she wrote one blog post around that form of exercise and how it was really good for people with joint mobility problems, arthritis, etc., etc. Through that process, her blog spiked. She opened up a new business opportunity. She hadn't realised that her form of exercise would have a direct market within the arthritic sufferers. So that's where it all comes through. So when you've got that's what the benefit is. Blogs can actually open up new markets for you that you didn't realise you had by the very posting of general information that you put onto them. Have I answered your question?
Businesses are engaging with this form of communication. Are NGOs like Red Cross and in your experience, are they starting to take on this kind of concept as well?
The question is, businesses are engaging it and are not-for-profit organisations involved in that. Interesting, all the buses and all the ambulances in Auckland now have a QR code. Remember the little black thing that I showed you up front? And by the way, we can make those pretty cool. We can turn them into colour-coded ones. We can put images in them, and it's pretty nifty. You said I was passionate about what I do. And on the back of the ambulance, if you scan it, you get taken straight to a donate money to them page. So there's an option. Dionysus, they're a not-for-profit charity. I'm working with another great organisation in Auckland called Vision for Humanity. Change the world, one person at a time, in terms of eco-friendly products to be utilised. Another not-for-profit charity. If they're not in the space, most of them are moving into the space.
Kathy. Look, the presentation, Kathy, you're going to make that available?
Yeah.
We'll have that up on our website, and a lot of the material from today will be on our website after today, so that'll be available for you. Also, the brochure I'm holding in my hand here, there's some of those over on that side cabinet, over on my left, your right, so help yourself to those as well, and I think also there's another article there as well. And look, one of the things I took from a question at the back actually was quite good. What about if there's a solar flare and it's just all fizzed like that? It reminds me about investing, because in investing, things can go wrong from time to time, and they do. But inevitably, those things are put right. And technology is absolutely an enabler. And I would encourage you to utilise whatever technology you have, like the internet, Facebook, blogging, LinkedIn, and so on, to your advantage, but see them as an enabler. And it's things like, imagine if you didn't have a microwave. I mean, I only use it for reheating. That's all I ever use it for. But I wouldn't want to be without it. So they become part of our life, and there's no doubt about it, this technology will be so too. So thank you, Kathy, that was good.
Pleasure.